Hi guys, Avinder Ruby here. I'm really excited to have Julia join us today to talk about all things German immigration. This is something that's really key and important to our practice, as Ellis Porter's US office is headquartered in just outside of Detroit, Michigan. So we have a large automotive industry. We deal a lot with German foreign nationals who are coming into the US to work and also going into Germany to work. So really excited to have Julia join us today to talk about updates in German immigration as a result of the coronavirus. So I'll hand it over to Julia to introduce herself, and then we can jump into some of the key updates, and then Julia's also going to share some top tips for you as well.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Julia Jusnanski. I am an attorney at Clean HR Lawyers in Germany. We have 5 offices all over the country, and we advise in corporate employment law and also corporate immigration. So I'll be happy to share some news on German immigration amidst the coronavirus today.
Fantastic. Now, before we jump into the updates, let us know what's going on in Germany right now. How are people feeling? Is everyone on lockdown? Is there social distancing? What's going on the streets now?
Well, we do have a lockdown, and a lot of businesses have been closed, such as, for example, hairdressers and restaurants, although you can still pick up food. So a lot of the social life, as everywhere in the world, has been shut down. There are social distancing rules that are in place all over Germany. Some federal states have introduced, and even some cities have introduced, full lockdowns, whereas the rules are less strict in other places, which is due to Germany having a federal system and being highly decentralized to an extent. So you do always have to look at the local regulations to find out what's going on.
What's changed as a result of the coronavirus in terms of German immigration? Are there any travel restrictions? How are employers handling any changes or downturn in work in the economy?
So the first main change I would like to talk about is the travel restrictions which are in place to come into Germany. German citizens are not affected, but everyone else is going to be in some way. In terms of the legal travel restrictions, of course, there are factual travel restrictions, such as not being able to get on a plane into Germany because flights have been canceled. But in terms of legal travel restrictions, there has been a ban on non-essential travel for a while now, since March. And that ban is likely going to be extended until 15th of May. It was announced just shortly. So what you need to know if you're traveling into Germany is the following. You have to have an urgent reason to travel into Germany, such as you have to be traveling for medical reasons or for a family emergency. And ideally, you're going to have to be able to prove it as well. People who are not German citizens and who travel into Germany have to be legally resident here for a longer period of time. EU citizens, as well as third country citizens. By third country, to those watching who are not from the EU, I mean citizens who are not EU or EEA citizens or citizens of Switzerland. This longer residence term requirement, you need to have a residence work permit, such as a visa or a permit to live here and be employed here, that's valid for a longer term. And in individual cases, that can be extremely problematic, because what do you do if you have a so-called national visa that expires pretty soon? So in some, if not most cases, actually, it would be highly advisable to check in the individual case whether or not you will be able to come back to Germany if you're currently outside of Germany, in order to avoid being turned down at the border. Because at the border, the final decision will be made whether or not you are going to be able to enter the country.
Right, so really important, if you're traveling back into Germany and not a German citizen, make sure you've got appropriate documents, make sure you're able to enter into Germany prior to even departing your home country.
Exactly. Exactly. That will be the first top tip.
Should employers also carry with them proof of employment letters? Should they, if they wanted to show their residency in Germany, how would they do that? What things should they be taking with them?
Well, if you are a third country national, then you should definitely be carrying your visa. In a lot of cases, or your residence work permit. Under German law, unlike in a lot of other countries, a work permit will actually be part of the visa or of the combined residence work permit. So you don't need to carry a separate work permit. There are some exceptions from that for people who are here for humanitarian reasons, but I won't go into that. So in order to prove that you're traveling back into Germany, you definitely need to carry that visa or that residence work permit, although you definitely should carry that anyway. It's good to, just to be sure, to have any other documentation that you might be able to find, although this should likely be sufficient. But it's always an individual decision, so the more you have, the better.
Right, be prepared. So how far in advance should employees or anyone on a visa be applying for their extensions? In the US, typically, most work permits or extensions of stay can be filed around 6 months prior to their expiration. What does that look like in Germany, and when should people apply for extensions?
So generally, you should check with your local foreigner office on this. With the current situation, there has been some guidance that has been issued. So for example, the Berlin Foreigner Office has advised people to already register for extension of their residence work permit if that work permit ends after April, because the Berlin Foreigner Office cannot yet guarantee for when they will be able to fully reopen and run with full staff again. So they advise to already register for an appointment, essentially. So I would say that if your residence work permit is ending this year, you should look at what your local foreigner office is advising on that already now.